Hello, my friends, and how are you doing? Today, I come at you in Google Blue because I want to talk about the most interesting things that happened at the Google I/O event, and I also want to give you my opinion on that. And I want to start here with a bold statement. I think that Google and Nvidia are the two most important AI companies right now. And the reason why I said it about Google is not just because they have really deep pockets, and not just because they have a long history in AI research, but more importantly, what I always said is that Google has a huge landscape of all their different apps. They basically have their fingers in everything. They are basically everywhere. And of course, most of you are using, for example, the Chrome browser or an Android phone, things like that. So you're using Google somewhere in your life, right? And this becomes super important if you think about personalized results that the AI can have for you, but also it has to do something with the security of that information, because if you have a lot of your information, like your emails, your photo, your documents, everything stored on Google, and then the AI also comes from Google to look at that and personalize the results for you, it means the information never has to leave Google. And that is a huge benefit in my book, because I don't have to trust some kind of obscure startups or whatnot with my information. It's just inside of Google. But let's start and talk about what is happening with the Google I/O event. And I want to start out with the stuff that is happening on Gemini, and then we go to the image generation and the video generation. So one thing is actually not Gemini, is the Google Beam project, and that is one of my favorites. It started out as the Google Starlight project, and that is a kind of holographic screen. So it uses multiple cameras and meshes that together with AI to create a 3D representation of you that looks really realistic and like a hologram, because you have that screen where you can look around and it feels like you're in the room with the person. I can actually see that coming to every home with you having your screen or your TV fitted with multiple cameras and creating this kind of perspective for you. Not sure about the 3D effect, but I can really see this becoming the future of video calls. Now, one thing that really fits with that very well is Google Meet live translation. And that is not just a subtitle as a text, because I hate to read a text when I watch a video. I want to see what's going on. This is why I have a video. So this is actually AI voice translation that is played over your voice. Very helpful for the other side and connecting us in the future in a very fluent and interactive way. Of course, for obvious reasons, they are starting out for the US market with English and Spanish, the two most spoken languages, but they will add a ton of languages in the future, connecting us internationally, which especially becomes very useful if you have an international team of people, like a video editor in the Philippines, and then you have a researcher in India, and then you have a coder in US, and all kinds of stuff all over the world. Really important.
Hi, Camilla. Let me turn on speech translation. It's nice to finally talk to you.
Es bueno hablarte finalmente. No puedo esperar a alquilar tu casa.
Te vas a divertir mucho y creo que te va a encantar.
You're going to have a lot of fun, and I think you're going to love visiting the city. The house is in a very nice neighborhood and overlooks the mountains.
That sounds wonderful. Is the house
Eso suena
close to
maravilloso.
transportation,
¿Es la
or
casa
would you
cercana al
recommend
transporte
renting a
público o recomiendas alquilar un coche?
A big future of all of that are also the AI agents, and there a ton of stuff is happening. Now, don't think about an AI agent as one thing that goes along a timeline doing one task for you, because that is no longer true. So one thing they're introducing is 10 tasks at the same time with agents, so multitasking basically. That is really useful. And you might think, where am I going to use 10 tasks at the same time? I don't have that much to do in my real life anyways. But don't think about it like that. Think about all of the things that are going on in your life, but they are becoming AI supported in the background, where you don't even have to interact with that. The other thing that also connects very well to that is agent to agent interaction. And that is also very important, especially because there is still so much tasks out there that require you to actually speak to another person, finding out information. Like, for example, think about you're calling a restaurant and you're asking, do you have this kind of food? And do you have that kind of food? And do you have a window? But is the window seat free? And at what time are you opening? And what is like, when are the most people there? And when can I have like a more quiet place or time because I want to be on a nice, quiet date? All these questions take a lot of time. Just let the AI agent do it for you. Make the call, ask all these questions, book the table, come back to you. And also based on your personalized preferences of what you actually like from the food, from the location, all these kind of things, really, really important. Now, another part about that is personalization is not just interesting for the way it interacts with you. And let's talk about personalization for a second here. Now, the most important thing here is to think about AI at the moment looking through a keyhole at you. It doesn't really have any information about you. So when you ask a question, you get a very standard reply. And that is very unsatisfactory, of course, because the way it works in real life is when you interact with your colleagues, your family, your friends, they have a history with you. They know you, they know what you prefer, what you like, what kind of answers you're looking for. So if you have this kind of personalization with AI, and the AI has this information from your emails, from your photos, from your documents on Google Drive, and so on, from your search history, things like that, it can suggest to you things. So that is one thing, suggesting to you things. So if I say, I want to go to Milano, suggest to me the most amazing things that I can experience there. I don't want to have a generalized list of the top 10 things that are suggested to everybody. I want a list that is specifically interesting to me. Now, the other thing that is, of course, important here is when you talk with the AI, so you get specialized results that are based on what you're actually looking for. So if you have a conversation with AI, let's say about an artist or history or politics or stuff like that, it understands where you're coming from and giving you results that are most useful to you as these answers, right? But another part of that is also when you use, for example, Google Documents, when you write a text, or if you write an email in Gmail, it will sound like you when it writes the answer email or when you phrase the text. So it's not this kind of generic AI thing. It's actually an agent that kind of replicates you and does the task for you so you can save that time. By the way, another part where this all fits into very well is Gemini Live, where you can use your live video camera from your phone to talk with the AI, ask questions about the things you see. So the AI, for example, can help you with tasks or identify things or tell you stuff about the history of a sculpture you're seeing, things like that. And there is now a two-voice support coming. So if you are with another person, you can have a conversation, both of you with the AI, making stuff way more interactive. But they also have another project that is called Google Astra. The interesting thing with Google Astra is it seems to have even more capabilities. So one thing I really enjoyed about that was this kind of AR function. So you can use your camera and say, what kind of screws do I need for my art project? And then it highlights the screw type that you need from all of the screws on the wall. That is really, really helpful stuff like that. But what it can also do is that it can, for example, research for you, or like find a manual and then search inside of the manual for you, giving answers from that. Again, that is really insightful. The way I use it is not for manuals, actually for books, especially like fact books, where I upload, for example, I have a book about how to film better or how to do photography better. I upload the complete book, and because of that, it gives me quotes from the book and way more specific answers, and that is very, very helpful. And here is something that I feel is actually new, and that is Gemini Diffusion, and that has nothing to do with image generation, although it's based on the same idea. So diffusion is you start out with noise and then you generate a desired result, but they are not using it for images, they are using it actually for text, which can be super useful, for example, for math or for coding. The important thing here is that it works on the complete text solution, all of it at the same time, which means it has a text from the diffusion, and it can correct the errors inside of the text, inside of the code, at the same time that is diffusing that code or that text or that math for you. So it fixes it while it generates it, and at the same time it's way, way faster. That seems to be a really interesting future approach to how to use text AI. One thing I also very much enjoyed when you are into vibe coding is that they have code that can be generated by sketches, which is really useful because often it is pretty hard to describe what you want to have, and not every person is a text person or a lingual person describing stuff through text. Sometimes you're more of a visual person like myself, so when you can draw a sketch, you can actually get out the idea way faster, and the AI can look at the actual solution you're looking for and convert that into the code, and they actually showed a really beautiful example for that. Now, this example you've seen, that is interactive. And what I like at that also is it has a functionality in there where it says, oh, this is the image. You can click on that if you want to have more information. And then it also includes the AI voice giving you the answer as a function from Gemini or Google Code.
That's a pangolin, and its scales are made of keratin, just like your fingernails.
By the way, one of the coding projects is called Jules, and the Jules beta is open for sign up right now, so check that out. Now, another thing that is really interesting about Google is, of course, they are a search company, right? And we have seen these overviews, and sometimes they're helpful. Actually, I often use them as a shortcut. If they give me the answer right away on Google in the overview of AI, I use that. And then if not, I go to Perplexity. But now they have the AI mode where complete Google searches are AI guided. And this can be very helpful because it has, again, a personalization. So it has an understanding of what you're looking for. And because of that, the agent in the AI mode can reach out and look through multiple websites, multiple modes and formats to give you the results. For example, like I said before, if I want to figure out what I want to do in Milano, it knows, oh, I like to eat, I like parks, I like museums, and I like modern designs, like, for example, graffiti or t-shirts, stuff like that. So it will look for these categories on its own and find results for that and make me multiple lists based on that and show them to me. And that is really useful to not have just one result, but actually a full process is going through. And they are also adding deep search to the AI mode, so you can go even deeper and have the AI work on the result a longer time, going into way more different sources and websites and create a report for you as a result. And you can already see how AI is becoming a thing that is running for us in the background, preparing stuff, doing searches, interacting with other people or with other agents on our regard. Now, what proactive is, and this is one of the things I really want to see with AI, is that AI is preparing tasks for you, preparing results for you before you even search for them, before you even interact with the AI. So, for example, it might know, oh, you have this kind of morning routine. So you want to do, for example, you want to have the news, you want to have your philosophical thought of the day, and you want to check out the overview of your emails, all of that in the morning. So this kind of proactive AI is preparing information, going through all of the tasks for you, so you don't even have to think about that. And that is pretty amazing. Now let's talk about generative media, which of course is image generation, video, sound effects, and music. Let's start to talk about image gen first. The image quality is better. There's way more details in the image and precision also. And one thing that stands out here is how good it is with text. So not only is the spelling much better, but the creative choices of fonts that it can create and how these fonts fit to the designs is way more improved. And for me, the limitation of the font design always was a downside with other AIs. This looks really promising. But also, Image Gen 3 makes way more interesting creative decisions when it creates the designs and images for you, so you get a way more artistic output, and that is also beautiful. Now, when we talk about video generation, VO 3 is a huge bump up from VO 2. First of all, it has better details in there. It has nicer, finer resolution for what it is creating in the video. It also has a better understanding of the physics that is created, so that you actually get something that looks real and feels real from what is going on in the video. But you also have a lot more control over what you can generate. For example, you can combine multiple images together so that those will create a scene for you in combination. There's a good coherence to the actors you create or you insert through your images, but you can also generate new assets, new images with Image Gen 3 and then use them or upload images you want to use for the video generation on top of that, so everything stays together. Now, there's another very important part, and that is that VO3 not only generates video, but it also can generate sound effects and background sounds, and even better than that, it can also generate dialogue for you based on what you write in the prompt. So here are two examples of that.
They left behind a ball today. It bounced higher than I can jump.
Oh, what manner of magic is that? This ocean, it's a force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light.
Now, this is not everything you can do with video, because other than VO3, there is also Flow. Now, Flow is a kind of directing studio where you can prompt for the different scenes and then combine them. You can edit them, so you can shorten them, but you can also extend them. So if you have a scene that worked until a certain point, you can cut it at that point and then extend it with a new prompt from that point to change the action in that scene. And just like that, you can plot out your whole video scene by scene with everything you want. And like I said, the coherence of the characters are actually very good. Afterwards, you can export all of these scenes together to edit them in your favorite video editing software. Also, they have something called Lyra 2, and that is a music creation AI that is pretty sophisticated. They didn't really show much of its functionality. They rather had an interview with a musician, but it looks pretty good from the tools you have. You have way more control over the music rather than just creating one full track. And I really like that, because music is a creative process, like a movie basically. It is not just one scene. It is a lot of stuff that is going on. You want to have more control over that. So that was the good news. But here is the bad news, and that is actually, sadly, really bad news, because they have a new pricing model. And in the new pricing model, you get Google AI Pro for $20 a month, and you get actually a lot for that, because you have access to the Gemini app, to Flow, to Whisk, to Notebook LM, to Gemini Gmail and Docs and so on, and also Gemini in Chrome, and on top of that 2 terabytes of storage. So the 2 terabytes of storage are actually on their own $10 a month, which means the rest of the AI stuff is another $10 a month in this $20 a month package, and that is actually a pretty good deal. So what is the bad news? Well, the thing here is they have a Google AI Ultra package, and that is $250 a month. Now, the big problem with that is you can see here that Google AI Pro only gives you access to VO2. Then you can't really use VO3, even though they're super proud about that. You can't really access that. That's a huge downside. I hope it's going to be part of Google Studio and you can pay per use, but in this subscription, not so much. And the interesting thing, that what I don't like about that also is they say, well, Google AI Ultra is for the early adopters. So when you have that, and only when you have that, you get like early access to the newest stuff right away. Really? We're going to do the thing which we have seen in gaming industry, which everybody hates, where you have paid early access? That's not great. That's not cool, really. I mean, I understand if you have more use and because of that the package is more expensive, but not giving people even limited access in the smaller pricing tier is pretty uncool, to be honest, especially when you just announced your cool new model and now we can't use it. Well, let me know in the comments what you think about that. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye!